listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. Excited to have you guys with us today. We are talking about AI-focused coaching, agents, production. Overall, Luke is in the Boise area. Excited to hear more about his background. He's got property management skills. It's on autopilot right now, doing very well with his own property management company. But, rookie of the year a few years back. He's been in the game 7 years now, really focusing on helping the production of other real estate agents not go the big team route, but also like focusing on how can you get systemized, how can you get the process down and really produce as a solo agent and be able to take home more, make a bigger impact, and not feel the need of joining like your next MLM type of feel, So excited to have Luke on today. What's happening, man? How we doing?
I'm doing very well, buddy. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. So talk to us. Anybody out there that doesn't know who you are, where you're from, your background, do you mind just giving me and the listeners that 30,000 foot view?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Luke Gilbert. I'm a transplant to Idaho. I was actually down in San Diego before I got my way up here. But like life started for me when my wife had her first baby in San Francisco. It was like, oh man, life came at me fast. You realize you don't have money figured out. And is California the place to raise our kids? And I went down to San Diego to live with my in-laws for a minute, which I don't recommend. Nobody recommended it to me, but I did it anyway. And like, dude, well, here's what the special thing about that is it was the wrong environment for me. And that created like this pressure that had me thinking nationally, like, okay, if California is not for me and I don't want to be around either side of my family as far as raising my kids go, where could I go? And we just looked at the map and my wife kept saying, let's check out Boise. Yeah. So I was an electrician at the time. Now there's a lot of narrative around trades being the best angle for the future because AI can't take those positions, etc. I would say there's a hard ceiling on that opportunity. And when I got to Idaho, I was thinking I'm going to come up here and take over the world. It's a right to work state, so the union had no leverage power to negotiate on a workers' behalves, and it's the minimum wage is $7.25 out here. So there's sort of currently, yeah. So the reality of our market is nobody makes minimum wage. Like every job out here starts at $15 an hour, but the established minimum wage is still $7.25. So there was sort of a low anchor. Yeah. So the union scale didn't make a ton of sense, but the cost of a house made a ton of sense up here. And like I was saving for a house, I'm air quoting here. I was saving for a house, living with my in-laws, and it was like California was just out of reach. There was no way.
Sure.
Yeah, this was 2016, so things were still relatively affordable, but Idaho got put on my map, so we came to visit it, took a job, bought a house in the same 20 hours that I was out here because I'm like, this is it, dude. This town was booming. But it took about 2 years of
Not to cut you off, but just curious because I don't know the market well. What is like a nice house or the average market in your area?
Yeah, median home value in Ada County is like $530K.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, and when I got here, I bought my first house in Idaho for $225. It's like they were giving them away back then.
Yeah, and, come on. In San Diego, it's like $1 million. It's crazy.
Yeah, you started $1 million for a shanty with an outhouse. Yeah.
That's in the hood.
So out here, you could bring $1 million to Idaho and buy a mansion. Like that still exists. Yeah. I would say like luxuries moved to $2 million out here, but you can literally buy a 5,000 square foot house on water for $2 million out here.
Nice.
So, and a lot that has drawn a lot of people in. We're a red state. We've got vaccine exemptions, open carry laws, best homeschooling laws in the state or in the nation. So it's really pulling in families. Yeah, the number one inbound migrant population is families with 2 kids, parents at about 36 years old. And those people, like we saw the most equitable growth in 4 years from 2018 to 2022. Yeah. COVID hit us hard, dude. People were running to Idaho. And I felt lucky to have already been here. We were doing whatever we wanted during COVID and that felt good. Yeah. But really that equity ride, like 2018 is when I started looking around being like, okay, I own a house and I locked low cost of living. I mean, my mortgage before taxes and insurance was $556 a month.
Let's go. Come on. What a blessing.
Yeah, so blessing and a curse, right? And like I met a
Yeah.
guy the other day who's living on his brother's couch for $300 a month, and I'm like, that's terrible. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if he ever kicks you out, there's nowhere to go, dude, because your
Yeah.
income's not you're not stretched at all, so you're not growing your income. You're just sitting
Yep.
still at a flat rate. I was nervous about that environment because I wasn't successfully negotiating my wage, and
Sure.
I was watching cost of living move away from me. So I'm like, okay, I'm standing next to this guy. I'm working on this building as an electrician. I'm standing next to this guy. He's like 63 years old and he has a 3-year-old son. So at 60, he had.
Come on. Let's get it.
So that was like, that's what I said. I'm like, that's
Working.
awesome, dude. Good for you. And that's pretty cool because you're going to retire pretty soon. You know, you're in the union, you're here for a pension. And he was like, I'm like, why are you grunt? Yeah, what are you grunting for? He's like, well, I've only been doing this for 20 years. Let that sink in for everybody
Only.
for a minute. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, so you've
How
only
long
been
do you
doing it.
want to do it? Like, what is, it's got to be a 60, 70-year thing? Like, what are we talking?
Dude, and everybody listening, pay attention to this piece. Nobody's going to set up your future for you.
Come on.
Right. So
Amen.
20 years at a trade. And he's like, well, here's the problem, because the way the trade works is years in, they average your best years, and then you make that money moving into the future. He's like, I'm looking at about $2,000 a month in pension. $2,000 a month in pension. I literally dropped my screwdriver and I'm just standing there. Like from that day forward in the trades, I was depressed. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
this is not what I thought it was. Like I was taking the easy route, really. You know, I was good at it. And I think there is a future for you guys out there who are electricians. But you got to understand, like, if you're reaching for capital and you know that investing is important, the slowest path you can take is employed as an electrician, period. Like,
Yep.
you might make a little bit more money than your friends, but the reality is, like, you will run out of your utility because your body's going to age. And I knew
Yep.
more guys with replaced knees and divorces than I could count.
Yep.
It was pretty obvious that a 60-hour work week was the only way to make a living as an electrician. So I'm laying next to my wife and I'm like, dude, I'm going to quit my job. And she's like, which job? I'm like, my job as an electrician, because I had just taken over the management of a buddy of mine's house. Idaho was just finding money, dude. Coastal states were pouring in here. And a buddy
Yep.
of mine liked that I was here. And he's like, I'm going to buy a house up there. Would you manage it for me? I said, yes. I've got 2 kids at the time and I'm working 50 hours a week. My wife is like, not doing all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I guess which one I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit being an electrician. And she was like, okay, let's do it. And like, that was this moment in my life where I'm like, okay, that's when the fear really set in, right? It's like, oh my God, dude, I'm going to quit my job as an electrician. I don't know how to do anything else.
How long were you electrician for?
I was an electrician for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Like my highest and best use as an electrician was project manager, because I'm a dweeb, man. Like I can't, when I was drilling holes in walls, I had like a ruler and I would measure the line and everything.
You're the precision. Yeah.
I just couldn't help it. And it drove everybody around me crazy, but like I had reasons for all of it. And like, I can't help but get granular like that. So it was like, it was a good trade for me. I love using my hands. I think if I could put my tools back on and make with the money I make now, I might try it, you know, just for a change of scenery. Every guy who's ever built anything will say the same thing to you.
Luke, let me ask you this, as far as your wife and you know, supporting you throughout the process. You guys have been married for 13 years. It's a big deal having some good support behind you, especially when you know, the years that you were doing the electrician. It's almost like an identity that this is who I am, this is what I do. So feeling like, hey, this isn't actually going to help out with my future, my finances, like my family, like I need something different. And making that big leap, that big, you know, change, obviously you start panicking a little bit. You know it's right, but it's also scary. How was the support with your wife?
You know, she believes in me, which helps. You know, I don't know, like, I didn't really have a plan as much as like, I think we could both feel the pain of where we were.
Sure.
I had become an electrician as the solution to this same problem 6 years ago. You know, it was like, my wife told me we were pregnant. I was digging ditches for a contractor. I literally was like, oh my God, dude, I was bartending and digging ditches.
Yep.
Like there was no career path. I was in a punk band playing drums, playing guitar. Like I was doing whatever I wanted. There was no plan other than serve myself. So when we found out we were pregnant, it really was like this. That was my first transformation. That was like maybe not a butterfly, more of a moth, some ugly little thing that I threw together in reaction to. So when we got to Idaho, and anybody feeling trapped in your state, listen to this part because it's important. When I got to Idaho, the circumstances were different. The variables were different. The machines that I was building to try to overcome this in California were irrelevant at this point because the landscape was different.
Yep.
It's like the wage was different. The barrier to entry for business ownership was different. Like this is a place where there's zero barrier for business ownership. And I'm studying like, cause I'm trying to like learn my way out of the trades. And like, here's my thesis on that is taxes are the most destructive force in wealth creation. Business ownership is the first path to sidestep taxation. The business you start is wildly important because not all businesses have the same tax advantage. And all roads led to real estate for me. It was like, it leaned back into the background of a builder. When I started my career, that was part of my confidence as an agent. It was like, I know what's inside the walls. I used to talk about having x-ray vision because from the builder's perspective, I was very comfortable in the residential environment. So it was a nice segue. But man, like you get your real estate license. I think everywhere there's almost no barrier to entry for real estate. And that's why nobody survives as a real estate agent. You can't lay back on the accolade. The accolade is useless. It's really like, it does not matter. Your ability to sell is the only skill set.
Well, Luke, even statistically, there's so many people out there that they become an agent because they feel like that's the path with real estate. But so many statistically, after a year, 2 years, and then even 5 years, like so many people actually drop off and drop off and drop off. Why is that, do you believe? And you've been doing this for 7 years now. Like, how are you one of the lucky few? I wouldn't call it lucky, right? That's what everybody thinks out there. They see the overnight success. They're like, what? It's not overnight. A lot of late nights putting contracts together and working my ass off. But talk to me about, why do you think others out there don't make it and they come in with this expectation like that's the only way for real estate, or it's going to be easy, if you will?
Yeah, totally. And like you said, blessed earlier in our conversation, like luck and blessed, like there was a lot of that to get started here. Like I found my way in here because of the whisper, it was like the audacity to take this leap took a lot of faith, so I don't want to pretend I just had it all figured out or it was just a grit story, but definitely like a stubbornness and a willingness to survive helped a lot to get started. But I like trainable, or like the reality of most people is when something has a low barrier to entry, the risk is minimized. It's like, okay, if I wanted to be a surgeon, I'm looking at 10 years of school. The accolade matters a lot. If I can survive 10 years of school, I can make some money whether I'm good or not. Real estate is 2 weeks of school, $600, and you're a licensed real estate agent, at least in my state. That for me was a safe haven from, I started over as an electrician when I came to Idaho because Idaho and California don't share the same regulations. So they wanted to start me as a first-year apprentice after I was project managing $15 million residential remodels in San Francisco. So like, it was like, I'm not doing another 5 years of this, was my mindset on it. And then the barrier to entry over here, like I got a contractor's license. It cost me $120 and proof of insurance. That's all you need to be a contractor in Idaho. And I got a real estate license, which was 2 weeks of school. And a lot of that was, I helped my buddy get a house out here, did some of the legwork. The real estate agent made all the money. I saw the bottom line and was like, oh, dude, that was a miss on my part. If I had my real estate license, which is how so many people trip into real estate. They don't want to pay a real estate agent to sell their house, or they see what a real estate agent makes and they think everybody's rich.
Yep.
But the reality is, it is not a technically proficient job. It can become that if you want to move into admin or transaction coordination, but it is a sales position.
Yep.
So most people don't think that. They're like, I'm good at my job, I'll be good at this thing. Most people have a job because they're scared of sales. If you can sell, why don't you own your own business?
Yep.
So
100%.
that's what happens is you step out there, and the terror around speaking to people you don't know or doing what it takes to sell. Most people can't survive that. And those that do get paid elite amounts of money.
Yep.
So the
Love that.
stats, like 85% of real estate agents don't make it through their first year, because it takes 1 year to realize you don't have what it takes in sales, and you're
Yeah.
not willing to overcome that obstacle, which if you were, you could literally survive in any industry.
I'm curious if the expectations somehow with want to be real estate agents, they come in thinking that they're going to be like investors in it, or like that's where all the money's at, but they don't realize, like, it's not taught to them. Maybe it's like sold a dream or something, like that it's not really a sales position. Like leads will just come to them. They don't realize that they're actually going to have to do like some door knocking, or they're going to have to market themselves to the public. And it's not going to be like everybody and their grandmother's naturally just going to come to them. Like
Yeah,
everybody
and
that they
probably
know.
maybe their grandmother will come to that,
Yeah,
and that's the
but that's
first
it.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
it stops there,
And
and
it's
then
going
your
to take
uncle
2
uses
years for
something
her,
else.
and you're going to have to
Yeah,
show 100 houses to her. It's like they don't realize that
right.
piece of it. So therefore, once they realize, like, oh, it's not just going to come to me in the next couple months, and then they have bills coming up,
Right.
most people just don't have that grit to fight through it, and they don't have the coaching to like get the support they need to really hold them accountable and get things done. Did you have that type of coaching, or was it like a family, you got newborns, like you got something's got to give, you just got to fight through it? What was it for you?
Yeah, I was reading aggressively. So, like, like most of us, Robert Kiyosaki was a mentor
Yep.
of mine. I read a lot of books on sales. Like the journey in sales is the terror, the willing to be in action, and then the action gives you feedback that creates the need for improvement. And then the good ones look for that information. And I read a ton of sales books. I read every sales book I could get my hands on to then get comfortable enough or confident enough in sales that I realized it was a leadership position, and then read every single book I could on leadership.
Come
So
on.
like the growth, the trajectory is like curiosity wins. Curiosity plus grit wins over time. I had to win. That was my advantage, like the blessed part. I already had kids. I had already bought a house. I had things that I couldn't fail. And
Yeah.
if you can't fail, like the people that are living their lives for themselves with no strings attached, like they're usually not high net worth people, because you need these creative constraints. You need people counting on you in order to grow through some some obstacles you can't overcome alone. So I was reading aggressively, but also just I had to figure out how to do the work.
Yeah. So just focusing on mindset and, improving your daily habits and so forth, getting a lot of education during that season
Yeah.
to persevere through and become that 15%, not the 85.
Totally. And like, so my first year, it felt like losing the whole time. It
Were
literally
you
felt like
doing
it.
it by yourself, or
Yeah.
did you have like a brokerage that were kind of coaching you and guiding?
Yeah, so I went to Keller Williams because of the promise of education. Here's what I'll
Yeah.
tell everybody out there that's thinking about switching brokerages for support. Brokerages are not mentorship programs. They're literally compliance support systems.
Yep.
They're like advanced admin. So
Yep.
what you realize as a solo agent is like sales. Doesn't that sound simple? Oh, sales. Okay, sales is multi-tiered. You mentioned marketing. Okay, there's marketing, there's nurturing, there's closing, there's document coordination. There's just so many parts of sales. And then if you don't have any reps, you can't cycle through what it means to be a salesperson. Like sales training is the missing piece.
Yeah.
They'll teach you how to transactional law. They'll teach you all these things that, should you actually learn how to sell, may be useful. But the agents that fail the most are the ones that get addicted to education, because the education is not sales. And sales can really only be learned belly to belly. So my superpower was a willingness to door knock. I joined a team for my first transaction, and he was like, we're door knocking, because he had a politician's background. He was like, this is how we canvas. The guy had no systems and no processes. And I think everybody who starts a business wants to partner early. Here's another nugget for you guys. Do not take business partners early in your career, because you don't need them. You're just offsetting you're giving somebody else the growth. You're like, I don't want to have to grow that fast, so I'll have somebody hold my hand while I jump into the deep end.
I think it's like a fear thing almost. Like it's like, hey, this is scary as hell for me. I have no idea what I'm doing. So will you partner with me? We'll make all this money together. But really, it's like I do believe iron sharpens iron, but you don't want the loss to lead the blind. You know what I'm saying?
You could have a mastermind without having a business partnership. You know what I mean? Good
Yep.
people hang out with good people. The
Yes.
reality
So
is it's
good.
like you don't marry everybody you meet either. You know, so at the
Yes.
end of the day, it really is just I made that mistake and got out of it comfortably 3
Good.
times in my early career. But
Wow.
joining a team was one of those moments. It was just like, I don't know. So I joined this guy's team. He's got no systems and processes. I'm building these little worksheets so that when I'm out in the field, I can keep track of how many doors I knocked and what happened at the doors. And like, I'm realizing like, what do I need a team for? Like, what
Yep.
they're not giving me leads. They're not giving me systems. They're not giving me processes. I'm finding these opportunities and then we close one together and he gets half my money. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I hate that business model, but then I've also built a team that way because I'm like, you know what? It actually takes, I get slowed down. The money I'm losing to mentor a team is worth 50%. And that
Sure.
I believe to be true. But I also don't think agents should rush into teams. I think teams are their leverage for high producing agents.
So
and also that, yeah.
So even with that, your first year, you still became rookie of the year. You had a lot of number one in volume and so forth, even just last year or the year before. So tell me about some of your achievements. Like where do you give credibility from that? You building out those systems, following it and working your tail off?
Yeah, I mean, I knocked like 1,500 doors in December, right? And December through January and got
Just a
nowhere,
couple.
dude. Yeah, I was going hard, man. It's snowing out. I got my coat on. That's the only reason I got hired for my first listing too, is he was like, this dude works. Like, honestly, don't underestimate hard work in real estate agency because that as a skill set and generally in property, like if you can be the legwork guy, there's a lot of people with money that are like, great, let's ride this dude to the finish line. That was me when I got started, but I'm not going to like as many doors as I can, like literally as many as I can. And I'm not trying to make door knocking sound simple, guys. Everybody listening, I had a panic attack before my first night going out door knocking. Every single thing I've achieved in growth has come at the expense of severe fear, even trauma for that matter. So
Come on.
I had a panic attack. My wife puts her hand on my leg. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, like I don't know if I can do this." And then I went out the next day and I door knocked anyway. And that was my birth as a salesperson. So I just start knocking 150 doors an outing as a rule. I'm nailing every door in my area. Nobody gives a damn. I'm getting doors slammed in my face. I had a guy shake my hand and then slam a door in my face. I'd never sold a house. I didn't have the scripts. And I was just out there taking the negative feedback, which was like, okay, it's kind of like moving in with my in-laws. It was the wrong move, which gave birth to the right move, right?
Yeah.
So door knocking around an open house became my superpower. It's like now I'm not looking for the sale, I'm event promoting, and I have credibility because I'm marketing a property in the neighborhood. So like the workaround for me was it's not one or the other, it's the two together creates this lead generation system that doesn't cost any money. I'm not waiting for somebody to give me a list of numbers to call. It's not cold calling because it's got body language involved. So you get the body language converts at 55% higher than interactions without body language. So my conversion rates were statistically going to be better. It had all the makings of a smart system, and I just started treating it that way. So like my first video course and coaching offering is the 7-Day Empire program, which is Monday through Saturday, exactly what I do to run my open house system so that agents getting started know what to do. Because the know what to do, that took me months, dude. I'm 4 months in with no transactions until lightning strikes and I get my first listing. If I didn't get that first listing, I probably would have washed out. I get through year one and the brokerage awards me rookie of the year. I did not see that coming. I literally thought I was losing the whole year, dude. My wife didn't like me. My kids didn't know me. I was crushed. And then the brokerage gives me this award. Just like that first listing, it was like just that little bit of encouragement. And then I double my production in the second year. The third year, I made $1 million in a single year. And a lot of it was market timing. That was 2021. Everybody was winning in 2021. But I had done the legwork for quick conversions, systems to make buyers simple because there was a lot of buyer activity out here. You could not get a listing in Idaho. So I shrinked down the number of hours required to create conviction and buyers and move into property. And it was like, dude, I sold 37 homes that year, flipped an entitled subdivision down in Cuna, and stacked like 60 doors into my management company. And basically broke everything else in my world.
Yeah.
But I was winning at work, brother. I was winning at work.
So talk to me about that balance. Do you believe in balance, or is that something that's for the birds? You just mentioned you were crushing it in work. All other areas were kind of falling apart a little bit.
I think the book, The One Thing, says it best. It's like, it's not really about balance. It's about knowing when to go long. The reality is you got to go off the reservation for wealth. You have to. And then like you can chip away at it, but chipping away, like what I've learned is you've got to be in the water for the wave. And then that is a patience play. But then when the wave comes, you got to paddle like a son of a bitch, or else it just crushes you. So my timing was good, but then also like I prioritized wealth creation because I was coming from nothing and I was making hay while the sun shined. Now I came into 2022 with, a potential divorce and, some scars from the battle I've just come through. But I had a buddy who was like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to 10X my home life. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, every time my wife says, come home early, I'll do it. Every time I run out of work, I won't make busy work. I won't build something. I'll come home, and I won't miss a single thing at home that is scheduled. No excuses. That was June 1st. I started that system. By the end of June, my wife said, I think we should have another baby.
Yeah. Come on.
So that's going long, right? It's going long at work and then going long at home. And the reality is, like, it's a priority game. Like, you have to have clear priorities and then sacrifice everything else. And you can be out of order in priority intentionally in order to win. I do it all the time. But having a clear understanding and a clear statement of what your priorities are makes those decisions simple. So you know when you're off. Like, if you're on the wrong priority, it might be the right priority for that moment or that conversation, but you know what your hierarchy looks like. So you don't sacrifice. Like an example I always give on this is, being a father doesn't make you a good husband.
Yep.
That's out of order. You have to be a good husband first. So if you prioritize being a good husband by default, you'll be a good father. But that's not necessarily true either. But you can't say I'm a good father, so I'm a good husband. That's an example of out of order priority.
Yeah.
So life is that way. If you get your priorities out of order, you feel it. It's like a disease. You feel uncomfortable. And the reason is you don't have a clear statement of your priorities. So you don't understand that you've decided to go long on something. Because if you go long on something, you could say, honey, I'm about to go long on this thing. She knows what I'm talking about. And I'm like, I'm going to be buried for a minute, because what I see at the end of this path, the vision I have here, is worth the risk.
Yes.
If it's not worth the risk, don't do it.
Yep. And getting her to buy into the vision. And I know that it's going to be a season that will come and go, but you're going to go out, you're going to hunt, you're going to make this, work for the family. I love that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men get it all mixed up too. They think that it's always about being out in the field. Like, that you could spin your wheels in the mud. You could waste a lot of gas spinning your wheels in the mud. So like, knowing when to be patient and build and when to go out and hunt, like, that's something that I continue to work on. But I've been in a working on my business season for the last 1.5 to 2 years, because I feel like aggressively lead generating right now feeds back into an under capacity system. So there's production and there's production capacity. I need to focus on production capacity so that should I focus on production, I can field the work.
Yep.
And a lot of people, they just stay out there in production, and then they're looking for hot business because all of these leads that they've created are dying on the vine. It's like, dude, slow down, step back into working on your business and build better processes so that you can integrate into better systems. And like I said that last part intentionally, processes precede systems. That's $1 million lesson I've learned, probably losing 60 grand and 3 years of time. Because the reality is, you think you could just buy a system that will then run your business. Well, how does your business run? If you don't know how your business runs, you fall default to the canned processes that the system comes with, and that never serves your culture. It never serves the way your customers expect to interact with you. So all my people out there, like, I built a process for building processes. That's how important I think it is. And if anybody wants it, I'll just give it to them. You can drop it into AI and it will interview you so that you can get your process for a particular thing in your business. But that's where everybody who's survived this long in the game, if you're still a real estate agent today, you need to be focusing on your processes, which is how you do things.
So good. I love it, Luke. Talk to me about the AI focus right now that you're doing to really improve the production for agents. I know you mentioned the CRM, but go deeper than that, if you will.
Yeah. So last year, I sort of birthed this idea of the 3-dimensional business, which is text message driven outreach supported by one social media channel for character presentation, and then one data driven newsletter for the presentation of expertise. And that ecosystem is about as efficient as you can be in a nurturing environment. So like, it's not a lead generation tool. It is a stay in touch with my people tool. So the text message outreach piece, it's one a week, one every 2 weeks, or one a month. That's how many touches I give people in my database, depending on where they are, from warm to cold. It's one a week, one every 2 weeks, or once a month. Nobody in my database gets anything more than that from me on a text message basis. And then my content posting was consistent. I would say I'm flat on that right now as I go build my business, but then you stay relatively consistent on social media so that people can see you're a human being and that you have character. And then this data-driven newsletter piece, like, that's been so important for me, where basically every single week my existing followers get this data-driven newsletter, so that it's kind of like if you called me on Monday and you said, dude, what's going on with the market because my listing hasn't sold yet?
Yeah.
My newsletter has done the heavy lifting for me, and we can follow up on it. So that ecosystem was like, oh man, this is awesome. And I ran it successfully. And I had a pretty good year from a sales perspective last year. And my business has just been running out of its existing database since, 3 years. So it took me 3 years to build into a neutral, like, autopilot position. And then it becomes nurturing, not generation. So my focus right now is building an inside sales agent, which functions in a CRM, that basically makes those touch sequences for me. But like, I was writing a post on LinkedIn today, like, AI has finally caught up, meaning, like, I tried to implement AI 2 years ago, but it sucked. It was terrible. And like, sales is nuance, right? Like, the way that you communicate is sales. So
Sure.
thinking that AI could text generate for you and nurture back in the day, it was impossible. And then AI with automation was kind of like this cutting edge thing, like Brivity rolled it out and Real Geeks rolled it out. And any of these like real estate focused CRMs were rolling out these auto text generators, but it was flat, vanilla at best, if it was even ice cream,
Yeah.
So it became like, I just took it back and did the work myself. And I was coaching people on, like, actually doing the work is important and having your hands in it is noticeable. But then my customers started to mistake my text messages for AI. So then I'm like, all right, if they think it's AI and I'm doing it with my own 2 fat thumbs, like, there are touches that are important and there are touches that are not important. So I'm building a CRM that will nurture leads to booked appointments. And that way, if you're an agent out there who has a database of, I'm saying between 300 and 500 people as a minimum, this is not for beginners. This is for, I have a database, but I neglect it, which is 89.9% of real estate agents out there. You can put your database into the CRM and it will send the through text message and email, it will nurture to booked appointments. And like, that's been really important for me, because if I build it for me, I get to step out of that side of my business, which is for kind of the last part for me in sales. Because at this point too, I've learned how to market on Meta with paid advertisement. I've learned how to cold advertise using platforms like Instantly. Like, if I can get the leads nurtured to booked appointments, feeding leads into the system is not necessarily hard to do. So I'm really after this sales system that keeps me busy as a solo agent. And if I can nail it, it's going to be available as a CRM for people in my coaching environment.
That's awesome. Give me maybe a tip or two for somebody just getting started.
I liked what you said earlier about people come into this thing as investors. There are 3 kinds of money problems. The first money problem is, I don't have any money. And that's how people show up. And they think they're going to get the real estate license to become an investor. You have to fall in love with the job of being a real estate agent first, because nobody will trust you otherwise. And sales is the fastest path to capital. And if you're going to sell something expensive. That's why to become a real estate agent. It'll be the fastest way for you to organically grow your capital base. As you do that, and you got skin in the game, so to speak, you've got a track record and you have some of your own money, other people's money starts to become relevant. The second problem is, what do I do with all this money? And what do I do with all this money is an investment principle. But until you solve the money problem, the first money problem, which is I don't have any money, do not focus on the what do I do with all this money problem, because it's irrelevant.
Yep. Yeah, it's overcomplicating things.
Oh, I think I froze. I'm here. Did you
Yeah.
freeze or me?
You froze for a second, but yeah, I definitely understand where you're like, people overcomplicate the next, like the fifth, sixth, seventh step when it's like, dude, you don't even have the money yet. Like, don't worry about that piece.
Totally.
Work on the energy and efforts to get the money. When you get the money, that's a good problem to have. We'll figure it out at that point. Don't be
Right.
stupid with it. Don't go buy the $20,000 Gucci sweatshirt or the Lamborghini because now you got money. Learn, good debt versus bad debt, and we can figure out how to put the money to work after.
Yeah, and like this leverage piece, like your first leverage is your time. Use your time and go hard, and then build the character that attracts money. Because other people's money, like, what do I do with all this money? That stage is simple. I mean, it's fun because you learn investing, and then you can get an advanced tax strategy through bonus depreciation. But like, people want a smart tax strategy when they've got no money to avoid taxation. I'm like, what do you even do?
Don't need it. Yeah, you're good.
$100,000 a year. Like, you're basically, your business expense plus the fact that you have standard deductions takes care of that for you anyway. You don't need it till you're buying buildings. And that is like, but you have to fall in love with real estate agent as a job before you can build the character that attracts money in that field. Otherwise, go be a financial manager and make a bunch of money doing something else and come back to real estate with cash. Because a real estate agency is leveraging your time for money thing. It's not leveraging real estate for tax advantage.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely understand the perspective behind it. And yeah, it's a good approach. I love that.
Yeah, that's the advice though. If you're a real estate agent right now and you're doing it as a pass through, you're not going to make it. And it can end up being a pass through for you, but you got to be a laser beam right now, dude. You've got to fall in love with being a real estate agent before anybody will take you seriously.
Yeah. I originally, a long time ago, back in 2015, I was getting into real estate and I was getting my license. I took the test, I took all these things, and I took the classes. I didn't take the test. I paid for the test. I was about to go into the test. And then I had this epiphany that I wanted to be more of an investor. I didn't want to show homes, and I knew that was going to wear me out. And it was picking up like another job that it would kind of drive me crazy. I wanted to be on that investor side. And I realized why I was doing it was credibility. And so I realized that the knowledge that because I was geeking out on podcasts like this, YouTube, university, and then all the books I could get my hands on for real estate investing. And I had the knowledge. I needed to take the action. It took literally 4 hours every single day for 2 years to finally get the guts and the balls to jump into real estate. And I didn't have any money, but I figured out how to, as I was reading and realizing like I'm going to need some money, how do I get money? I figured out, credit, and how to be able to utilize the power of 0% credit, because I had a very cheap mindset at the time. And so that's how we ended up getting massive amounts of funding and all 0% interest, and started doing the BRRRR strategy. And that is what absolutely changed my life.
Yeah, I love that. I just like, here's the thing. Like, I love that you're like, I don't want to be a real estate agent because of X, Y, and Z. Like, you got a reason. Like, I guess what I'm getting at is, if you are a real estate agent, but you're doing it you're working your way through it, like, that's okay too. But the only reason to become a real estate agent is because sales is the fastest way to capital. Capital, if you're going to make money in sales, sell something expensive. And real estate checks both of those boxes. It happens to be tied to the best tax advantages in the world too. So that becomes the byproduct, the side effect. It becomes the most important piece. But if you can choose today not to be a real estate agent, and nobody's going to be upset about it, right? We don't need more real estate agents if you don't want to be here. And then if you're in this game to be an investor, being a real estate agent at first is a freaking distraction, dude. Why are you doing that unless you're trying to build your own capital base? Because if you take your approach, there's a lot of roads that lead to investing in real estate. And if that's your thing, don't come to real estate agency like, oh, I don't care about this. I'm actually an investor. It's like,
Yep.
get your real estate license because it's a tool in your belt, or it is something you can fall in love with to make some money. Otherwise, it's not going to save you, dude. You're going to wash out.
Yep. So good. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you are a real estate agent right now or wanting to be, don't be the statistic of the 85%. Work your tail off, put in the reps, and get some systems locked in to be able to improve so that you're on the good side of the statistics, right?
Yeah, and reach out, because mentorship and sales training is the missing piece for everybody.
Sure.
It's
Yep.
hard to find. So like, I happen to be weird in that I want to spend my time with agents to help them win. Not all successful real estate people want the job of mentorship. So it's not just find somebody who's winning and ask them to be your mentor. Like, that doesn't really work. When you can find somebody who's building a program of mentorship, it's a rare opportunity. And that's what I'm after here. So if you're a real estate agent out there and you're not sure you're going to make it, or you want to make sure that you make it, reach out, because I'm happy to just hang out and have a phone call. If I could change your life in 1 hour, you don't owe me nothing. But it could be you need regular consulting with a guy who's winning in this space across development, management, coaching, digital products, and real estate sales. Like that, the digital product piece is really important in the near future too. So holler at me, man. I'd love to talk.
I love it. Luke, how can people get a hold of you?
I would say I'm trying hard on Instagram right now. I don't like, that's probably the fastest path to me, but my email address is no joke either. I'll give that to you as well. And then I'm making a push on LinkedIn right now because my mid-form content fits there well. And I'm kind of it may take me a day or two to get back to you if you hit me on LinkedIn, but I am present there. Fastest path to my cell phone is Instagram right now.
Okay. Instagram. Cool. Awesome.
And I'll give you a web link too, like this 7-Day Empire program, just to plug it for a second. Like, it is a video course that is coupled with group coaching. So you get the community environment, access to me on my terms, and then a video course that will basically teach you how to become a top producing real estate agent with no ad spend, which is important. The lead source becomes the most important part of a real estate business. I'll teach you how to generate leads without spending money. If you're into that, the landing page will get you there.
Let's go. I love it. Guys, reach out to Luke if you want to go deeper into coaching when it comes down to improving your processes and agent production. And at the end of the day, there's 30 plus ways to make money in real estate. So many different ways. So really sit down with yourself, understanding a little bit of each one from beginning to end, what it looks like, what's needed resource wise, and identify what is going to get you the most exciting and the results that you are looking for you, your family, your finances, and future at the end of the day. So guys, if you want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Instagram. It is Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, our business page on Instagram, it's Credit Counsel Elite. If you guys are looking for up to $500,000 with interest rates as low as 0% and being able to repeat that every 6 months per person, up to 90% approval odds, highest limits, and the best terms and conditions, check out creditcounselelite.com. That is creditcounselelite.com. Appreciate all you guys that have subscribed already. You guys are amazing. Keep it coming, and leave that 5-star review. We will catch you on the next episode. Till next time, God bless. Luke, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me, bro.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.